Robert, as promised, I'm gonna teach you how to can my famous Big Ideas Salsa.
Yum, I can't wait, but is it hard to do?
Oh, there's nothing to it. You just follow the recipe and make sure everything is clean.
What's the recipe?
Okay, well, I have my recipe made up according to different proportions so it can be scaled to any size. So what we need to do is convert the proportions into a recipe to fit this size batch.
Okay.
We measure the vegetables we have at hand and estimate how many cubic inches are in each vegetable. Then we figure out the volume of the jars. We multiply that by 12 so we get the whole size of the recipe. So we don't have to measure every one, we just measure a typical size. So let's use this tomato.
Sure, great. So this is roughly the shape of a sphere.
Yeah.
So the diameter is about 2.5 inches.
Okay.
All right, so that gives us a radius of 1.25 inches. So the volume is 4/3 pi r cubed. So our volume is about 8.2 cubic inches.
Okay. To me, bell pepper, it looks a lot like a square prism.
Yeah.
So let's measure that. Okay. So we have a width of 3, and this is the length is 3.5 inches.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So that volume is going to be side squared times length. So that gives us 31.5 cubic inches.
Okay, but remember, they're hollow. So if we estimate that the pepper wall is about 1/4 inch, then that would make the width 2.5 and the length 3.
All right, and that gives us 18.75 cubic inches.
Okay, so if you remove the hollow space, right, that's 31.5 minus 18.75 equals 12.75.
Okay.
So that's the cubic inches.
All right, so.
So let's move on to the jalapenos.
Jalapeno.
Now, to me, Robert, these look a lot like cones.
Right.
Right?
Okay, so this has a diameter of about 1.5 inches.
Right.
And the length is about 3.5 inches. So volume for a cone is 1/3 pi r squared times length. So our radius is about 0.75, and that gives us about 2.1 cubic inches.
Okay, but remember, these are also hollow. Right. So let's say the inside radius is about 1/2 inch. So that would make the length 3 inches long.
Okay.
Okay?
That gives us 0.8 cubic inches.
Okay, so to take out the hollow space, we do 2.1 minus 0.8 equals 1.3 cubic
All right,
inches for our
great.
pepper.
All right, 1.3. All right, so now the onion is a sphere, kind of like the tomato.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so we are going to measure this 4 inches. So that will be 22.4.
Okay.
All right. 2. Okay.
Great, so that's the idea. Now that we have that done, let's find the volume of the batch.
Right, and the jar is roughly the shape of a cylinder.
Yes.
All right, it has a diameter of about 2.25 inches and a height of,
Wait, leave a little gap at the top.
right, so about 3.5 inches, leaving a gap.
Okay, times 12 jars.
So our volume is about 14 cubic inches times 12, like you said. That gives us 168 cubic inches of delicious salsa.
So we now have all the data we need. Let's go ahead and make this recipe.
Great. So now in order to determine the volume of tomatoes that we need, we multiply our batch size by the proportion of tomatoes to the sum total of all the parts. Now, we know that the sum of all our parts is 352 and some change, but we're going to ignore the hot sauce just for now. So our formula is going to be 160 divided by 352 times 168.
Okay, so that's 76 cubic inches.
And then we further divide that by the average size of our tomatoes, which is 8.2.
So
and that gives us
about 9.3 tomatoes.
9.3.
So we'll use 10 tomatoes.
Right.
Okay.
3 bell peppers.
Alrighty.
Gives us
2.
2.
Thank you, sir.
3 jalapenos.
Okay.
Great. But how do we figure out the proportions of the rest of the ingredients?
So they're about 1.8 cubic inches in a fluid ounce. So if we use 1.8 as the average size, we'll get ounces.
Okay, great. So I'll plug that in. 1.8 0.8.
Perfect.
All right, so let's do this math. So about 6 ounces, we're rounding up.
Thank you, sir. 0.
There you go.
0.3.
So 0.6.
0.6 ounces.
0.05.
Okay, good. So not too spicy.
Okay.
All right.
Now that looks like a recipe.
Yes, and because we rounded up, we're sure to have enough.
Yeah, but what happens if we have leftovers?
Oh gosh, Robert, I don't know what happens if we have extra salsa.